Alright guys, welcome back to the back of the boat. So let me just show you what we're doing. Trying to plug up these holes here. So show you a couple examples. Basically what you got to do is drill these out. These are, corroded, lots of aluminum oxide in there. Drill these out to a little bigger, just to expose a bit of fresh metal there. And so drill all these guys out. And then what I'm using here, this is actually an old school soldering iron. I don't know if you guys can see here. Looks like a number 4. But this is a big hunk of copper that heat this up and use it as an iron. So what I'm using it for is because you can't weld aluminum to it. So I hold this on the back side, like so. And basically that lets me put a bead of weld in here and not have it go through the other side. So hold on, I'll turn on the welder. Here. Stop there. Alright, so if you guys can see that. And then I'll bring it over here. So on this side, you can see it's nice and flat there. And then I'll bring it back after I grind it down, but basically, spoiler, it looks like there was never a hole there. So that's what we're doing now. And just gonna keep going, lots more holes to do. Alright, and here it is, all welded up. Not pretty, but better than having holes. These couple of big ones, we're gonna put a patch over, because they're just too big to weld up. But all the little ones are welded. That's great. Show you what it looks like inside. So I might put a little Zappa weld on the ones on the inside too, but yeah, so far so good. Better than having a bunch of holes. Okay, and so ground down some of the welds on the inside. Also took off this nasty steel plate that was attached with self-tapping screws. And what I've been doing is cutting out some patch plates. So this guy will go over here to patch that big nasty hole. And then there's another plate here, which will go over here, weld that guy in place. And I have a couple smaller ones here, with this hole and this hole. So just going to get those stitched on next, and then we should have a watertight boat again. Okay, so we've got our couple of cover plates welded in now, and on this side as well. So yeah, should be a watertight boat now. So pretty happy about that. Next plan, I'm going to take this 1/4 inch big heavy plate here. We're going to mount it against here, just a couple of tack welds, and then I'm going to get the motor over here and try to set that on here, figure out the proper height over the transom or over the bottom of the boat so that we get the intake water flowing correctly. And then I'm going to make up a little bracket here on the back to sort of space out the motor and hold it where it needs to be. So stay tuned for all that. Okay, so that grinding took way longer than I thought it would, but you can see now it's basically, it was like the holes were never here. A little bit of porosity or whatever, but like that's like fingernail deep. It doesn't really matter. Here's those big patches that I put on. Yeah, so overall looking pretty good. And then what I've done is just sort of tacked up this big 1/4 inch plate. You can see it doesn't really line up, but it doesn't matter. It's just going to be there to sort of catch the bolts coming through from this side. So what I'm going to try to do now is mount up the motor and get a sense of the height, because you got to trim it out flat before you set the height and figure all that out. So once I figure all that out, then I can finish welding it up. But yeah, it should be interesting trying to get the motor on here. Alright, got the crane out, flying boat motor here. Just trying to get it all lined up here, figure out how it's going to sit. So I'll show you once this thing's landed. Not too much to see here, but basically got our spacing figured out. Got our foot height figured out. So pull the motor back off, tack on some of these pieces on the back, and then hopefully be able to throw the motor back on, drill some holes, bolt it on, and be done. Okay, now we're over on the welding bench. Just got a little aluminum square out of some 1.5 1/8 inch square stock. Mitered up the corners. This one worked out better than this one, but put the machinist square on it. It's square, so I got to clamp down best I can. We'll weld it up, and then this is going to go on the back of the boat and support that motor. So I'll show you when it's all welded. Alright, so here's what we're working with. This aluminum rectangle. It's kind of hilarious. It's strung like trucks, so should be good. We're basically going to tack that up there because the motor basically needs, I need to drill some holes through here. I'll show you in a minute. So that's going to get just tacked on there, and then this guy here is going to go up on top just to provide some spacing. That seems to work out here, and as long as we get our left right correct, we should have just enough clearance on this hole. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a piece of UHMW across here, and we'll cut out a profile so that it's covering the shoe of the intake, and then yeah, we should have a mounted up motor. Might do a little test, we'll see. Alright, well, Eagle's landed. So what we got here, this little piece to space it out here, and then you can see we've got some bolts going through now to this 1/4 inch plate. Once I started still bolting it, it's sandwiching all this together pretty nicely, so probably come back afterwards and throw a few more tacks around there, and then eventually what I'm going to do is run some supports from here down to here to transfer that load into the floor, and then we might tie in a diagonal as well. So that should be nice and beefy. For now, I'm going to try to get the motor fired up, make sure that's working, figure out the controls, all that jazz. So probably cut it here. So come back for the next episode if you want to see the boat go together.